You chase money because you think it brings power. But tell me, how many rich men tremble before those who can destroy them without lifting a coin? In this world, money is not the master. It kneels before power. And those who understand this rule don't chase wealth. They command it. In every age, men have confused the source of control. They mistake the glitter of gold for the weight of influence. They believe that wealth builds authority, when in truth, it only decorates it. The powerful man can be poor today and rule tomorrow, while the rich man without power is nothing more than a gilded slave. This is not a lesson for the comfortable or the naive. It is a dissection of the order that governs all human ambition, a truth whispered by tyrants, concealed by kings, and ignored by the weak. Tonight, we unmask that truth. Not how to earn more, but how to command more. You were told to chase money, to study harder, to work longer, to climb faster, but no one told you the truth. That money obeys command, not effort, and command is born from power. Look at history. Caesar had no fortune when he seized Rome. Alexander did not inherit a treasury, he conquered one. And the Medici, those cunning masters of Florence, not build their wealth by chance. They controlled the men who minted the coins. Power comes first. Money is its echo. You see, money is a cowardly servant. It flees from uncertainty, from weakness, from those who depend on its approval. But it kneels before dominance. Show the world that you can command men, and money will search for your favor. Ask yourself who decides what your time is worth. Your employer, your clients, the market. Each one is a reflection of power dynamics. You don't earn money. You're granted it by those who hold the power to give. So the wise man doesn't chase coins. He chases the position from which coins flow. The merchants of Florence learned this well. While others fought for scraps of silver, they married into power, funded rulers, and bent kings through debt. They did not serve wealth. They enslaved it. The illusion of hard work was for the peasants. The art of positioning was for the princes. Even in your modern world, the pattern repeats. The CEO who earns millions does not work harder than you. He simply occupies a throne you cannot reach. His words shift markets. His decisions command resources. He is the axis, and money merely spins around him. This is the hidden rule of every empire, every company, every human circle. Wealth flows upward to power, not outward to labor. So, if you wish to possess money, you must first become the type of person whom money serves. That means cultivating leverage. What is leverage? Influence, fear, skill, mystery, tools that make others depend on you. When they need you, they obey you. And once they obey, your wealth becomes inevitable. The weak man believes power is granted through permission. The strong man knows it is taken through perception. Authority does not wait. It is assumed. People believe what they see, not what is true. Stand like a king, and they will treat you as one. This is psychological warfare in daily disguise. In conversation, in business, in negotiation, each moment reveals who holds power. The one who can remain silent the longest. The one who forces others to explain themselves. The one whose approval others seek without asking. That man already possesses what money cannot buy: command. Even the church, the greatest empire of faith, understood this. It owned little at first, but through moral power, it ruled kings. And kings, in their hunger for legitimacy, filled its vaults with gold. Ideas, not currency, built cathedrals. Belief, not labor, forged empires. So reflect. Why do you desire wealth? Is it freedom you seek, or validation? Because the man who seeks validation through money will forever be owned by those who grant it. But the man who seeks power through understanding will make money his servant. Observe the predators of the world. They do not chase. They wait. They create conditions where the prey comes willingly. You must do the same. Stop chasing money. Create value so essential, so magnetic, that wealth must crawl to you for permission to exist. Power is the art of making others act in your favor without realizing it. It is invisible, psychological, and unspoken. It is built not on greed, but on control over emotion, perception, and access. Once you have these, money becomes predictable, even obedient. Remember, the world doesn't pay for effort. It pays for authority. It rewards the one who can decide, not the one who performs. That's why kings grow richer while soldiers die poor, why strategists thrive while laborers struggle. Why you must stop asking, how can I earn more? And start asking, how can I command more? Every empire falls the day it forgets this truth. When rulers grow complacent, money rebels. When they lose their grip, wealth escapes. But when power is preserved, money remains loyal. So before you chase wealth, ask yourself, do you hold any real power? Can you influence, persuade, and control the environment around you? If not, your riches will never stay. They will pass through your hands like water through sand. To build lasting wealth, you must first build the structure that commands it. The fortress of power, invisible yet undeniable. And once that fortress stands, money will not need to be hunted. It will come crawling, begging for entry. But the question is, once it does, will you know how to keep it? What if I told you that money is not the real currency of this world? That power, respect, and opportunity are traded in something far more subtle, influence. You may think wealth moves men, but it does not. Men move wealth, and men are moved by influence. It is the unseen force that bends wills, reshapes loyalties, and builds empires without a single coin exchanged. It cannot be stored in banks or printed in ink. It exists only in the minds of others, and in your ability to control them. Look back at history. The most feared rulers were not always the richest. They were the ones who could command obedience without needing to shout. A whisper from their lips outweighed the gold of merchants. Why? Because influence makes others want to obey. Julius Caesar understood this. When he crossed the Rubicon, he wasn't rich. Rome was. But every soldier followed him, not for payment, but for devotion. He had mastered the psychological art of influence, to make men see their fate bound to his. You see, influence operates on a deeper level than fear or bribery. It's not about control through threat, it's about control through perception. The one who shapes perception controls reality itself. So ask yourself, who shapes your thoughts, your opinions, your values? Do you believe them to be your own? Or were they planted there, carefully, by someone who understood the art of influence better than you? Influence begins with 3 laws. The first, people follow those who seem certain. Certainty is magnetic. Even a lie, when spoken with conviction, will defeat the truth delivered with hesitation. Confidence creates authority, authority creates followers, followers create power. The second, influence feeds on emotion, not logic. Logic convinces the mind. Emotion enslaves the soul. If you can make someone feel fear, admiration, belonging, you can make them obey. It is not reason that builds armies or religions. It is emotion, guided by influence. And the third, influence demands distance. You cannot influence those who see you as their equal. A certain distance creates mystique, and mystique breeds projection. People will fill that space with their own desires, fears, and fantasies. And once they do, you own them without lifting a finger. Consider the church in the Middle Ages. Its power was not in gold, but in belief. It controlled through guilt, salvation, and mystery, currencies of influence. Kings bowed before priests not because of fear of men, but fear of eternity. That is the highest form of manipulation, to command through invisible chains. You can apply this same principle today. Every influencer, politician, or CEO you admire, they do not sell products. They sell perceptions. They make you believe you need them. And once you believe that, they never have to chase you again. Ask yourself, how often do you reveal your intentions too quickly? Every time you do, your influence decays. The powerful never show their full hand. They let curiosity do their work. Because curiosity is control disguised as fascination. Influence is not about speaking louder. It's about being heard when silent. It's about shaping what others say when you are absent. To achieve this, you must cultivate psychological gravity, a presence that demands attention even in stillness, a reputation that walks into the room before you do. To gain such gravity, one must master restraint. Powerful people know when to withhold approval, when to delay response, when to make others wait. Waiting builds tension, and tension breeds dependence. The more someone craves your validation, the more they fall under your influence. This is why flattery is a weak man's weapon. To influence, you do not submit, you withhold. You do not chase attention, you command it through indifference. The cold, distant, composed mind always rules the desperate one. Influence is a form of warfare. The battlefield is the human psyche. Your weapons are presence, perception, and patience. The fool rushes to convince. The wise allows others to convince themselves. Remember, people are not controlled by facts, but by what they feel is true. If you can craft the feeling, they will accept any truth you give them. That is why tyrants, prophets, and seducers all drink from the same cup, the mastery of belief. And yet, influence has a darker side. The moment you wield it without restraint, it begins to consume you. Because the line between command and delusion is thin. Many rulers fell not because they lacked power, but because they believed their influence was unshakable. So learn this balance: influence others deeply, but never become drunk on their obedience. Remain detached, cold aware. Only then can your influence endure beyond fear, beyond loyalty, beyond wealth. Because in the end, money buys moments, but influence buys minds. And the one who owns the minds of men owns everything. But tell me, when influence becomes absolute, does it still belong to you, or have you become its servant? You believe you are free because you earn your own money. You call yourself independent because no one signs your paycheck but you. But tell me, if your comfort, your safety, your survival still depend on systems you do not control, are you truly free, or merely another servant of a more subtle master? The illusion of financial independence is the most beautiful prison ever built. It gives you pride, yet hides your chains. It tells you that you have power, while quietly ensuring that you never do. Look around. The man who boasts of being self-made still bends to the laws of the market, the taxes of the state, the trends of the masses. He may not answer to a single employer, but he answers to 1,000 invisible ones, each dictating what he must do to remain relevant, profitable. He calls it freedom. I call it obedience in disguise. In Florence, merchants once believed they were free because they had no kings. The Medici ruled them without a crown. They did not issue decrees. They issued credit. And through debt, they controlled those who thought themselves independent. The merchants spent their lives chasing profit, while the Medici spent theirs controlling the conditions under which profit existed. One played the game, the other owned it. Do you see the same pattern today? You may own a business, an investment, a brand, but who truly governs its survival? Algorithms, markets, platforms, governments. Each one a silent ruler whose power you pretend doesn't exist. The powerful understand that independence is not about escaping control. It is about owning the structure of control itself. Freedom without power is an illusion. It is permission disguised as liberty. And permission can be revoked at any time. Think of the artists who speak boldly until their sponsors withdraw. The entrepreneurs who call themselves free until the system changes its rules. The citizens who boast of democracy until the law turns against them. Independence exists only when you control the consequences of your defiance. Otherwise, your freedom is borrowed, and every borrower pays a price. Even the wealthiest men bow to something greater. Some bow to public image, some to shareholders, some to governments that can crush them with a signature. Money may buy influence, but it rarely buys immunity. And those who believe otherwise are the easiest to enslave, because they cannot see their master's face. True power is not the absence of dependence. It is the ability to choose what and whom you depend on. A general depends on his soldiers, but he commands them. A ruler depends on his advisors, but he replaces them at will. Dependency without command is bondage. Command with independency is power. You must learn to recognize where your invisible strings lie. Who benefits from your actions? Whose approval do you secretly crave? Which threats make you silent, obedient, cautious? There lies your true master. The illusion of financial independence thrives on ego. It tells you that, because you earned something, you control it. But control does not belong to the creator. It belongs to the one who can take away what you've created. And in that simple truth, entire empires have fallen. Rome fell not because it lacked gold, but because it no longer controlled its army. Its soldiers fought for whoever paid them more. The empire that once ruled the world became dependent on the loyalty of men who no longer feared it. That is the destiny of every individual, company, or nation that mistakes wealth for autonomy. To escape this illusion, you must invert your thinking. Stop asking, how can I earn more? Start asking, what must others depend on me for? Power lies not in what you own, but in what others cannot live without from you. The weak seek financial freedom, the wise seek psychological dominance. For once minds depend on your vision, your approval, your guidance. You control the flow of wealth without touching a coin. And that is the ultimate economy of power, where influence replaces income and obedience becomes the real currency. So ask yourself now, who do you truly serve? Your ambition or the invisible architecture that profits from it? If your independence still requires permission, it is not freedom. It is a gilded leash, and every time you move, it tightens. The world will keep telling you that money equals freedom. But history whispers another truth, that every fortune, no matter how great, stands atop a deeper structure of control. The question is not whether you can escape it. It is whether you can own it, because until you do, your independence is nothing more than a dream, and dreams, like money, belong to those who control their reality. But what happens when even control becomes an illusion? When those who seem to rule are themselves being ruled? Every man wants to be loved, but few dare to be feared. And that, my friend, is why most men remain powerless. Love makes you feel secure, but fear makes you obey. Compassion creates attachment, but control creates order. You cannot rule both hearts and minds. So the wise ruler chooses the one that guarantees survival. Ask yourself, when people speak of good leaders, what do they mean? They mean predictable leaders, safe, kind, gentle, the kind who win affection and lose respect, the kind who are praised in public but ignored in private. History is filled with men destroyed by their own goodness. Caesar spared his enemies and was stabbed by those he pardoned. The last emperors of Rome tried to rule with mercy and invited chaos to their door. Even Christ, who preached forgiveness, was crucified by the very crowd he sought to save. Compassion without control is suicide disguised as virtue. You may win hearts, but you lose your throne. People often mistake kindness for strength, but it is only strength when it can be withdrawn. A lion may sleep peacefully beside its cubs, but it is still a lion. Its gentleness is valuable only because everyone remembers its claws. So ask yourself, when you show kindness, is it from strength or from fear of disapproval? Because if it's the latter, your compassion is not virtue, it's submission. In power, emotion must serve strategy, not the other way around. If you let empathy rule your decisions, you hand your enemies the keys to your mind. They will praise your kindness while plotting your downfall. They will appeal to your guilt, your pity, your desire to be liked, until you no longer act, but react. This is how empires collapse, not from invasion, but from internal softness. The ruler begins to care too much about appearing fair, appearing kind, appearing good. And while he worries about appearances, the ruthless seize the substance. There is a reason predators rule the jungle. Not because they are cruel, but because they understand balance. A ruler must possess both mercy and menace, but he must reveal mercy only after control is secure. Compassion before control breeds rebellion. Control before compassion breeds loyalty, loyalty rooted in necessity, not emotion. For necessity endures where emotion fades. Think of your relationships at work, in love, in friendship. Who truly respects you? The one who fears to lose you. Fear does not mean hatred. It means recognition of your value. The moment people realize they can cross you without consequence, you cease to matter. Even in your modern world, the same psychology reigns. The boss who tries to be everyone's friend is devoured by office politics. The parent who never disciplines raises a child who despises weakness. The leader who apologizes for his authority becomes a servant to the mob. Control is not cruelty, it is structure. It defines boundaries, ensures order, and protects your position. Compassion without it is chaos disguised as kindness. But do not misunderstand. Control does not mean brutality. It means detachment. It is the ability to act decisively without drowning in emotion, to listen without surrendering, to care but never to depend. True control begins within. The one who cannot master his own anger, fear, or affection can never command others. The first kingdom you must rule is yourself. When your emotions no longer dictate your actions, you become dangerous. Not because you lack compassion, but because you can choose when to use it. Power requires restraint. The wise ruler knows when to show mercy, but he also knows that mercy must be earned. A gift too freely given becomes worthless, and a ruler too easily forgiven becomes forgettable. Look at Alexander, who was adored by his men, but feared by his rivals. He rewarded loyalty but destroyed betrayal without hesitation. His compassion had edges. That is why his empire followed him to the ends of the earth. Even in personal life, the principle holds true. You cannot love deeply until you establish dominance over dependency. If your affection becomes your weakness, it will be used against you. To give love freely is noble, to give it wisely is powerful. The world will tell you that kindness is strength, but that is only true when backed by control. Without it, kindness becomes currency for manipulation, traded, exploited, discarded. So, before you show compassion, build control. Earn fear, then trust. Command respect, then loyalty. Only then does kindness carry weight. The man who leads with his heart will bleed by it. But the man who leads with control can afford to be kind, because he knows his power does not depend on mercy, but on the ability to withhold it. And when he finally chooses to show compassion, it is not seen as weakness, but as divine privilege. But what happens when even control begins to decay? When loyalty turns to defiance and fear no longer holds? The most powerful man in the room is often the one no one notices. He does not speak the loudest. He does not demand recognition. He simply pulls the strings and watches others dance. Power, when visible, invites envy, but when hidden, it commands without resistance. That is the art of strategic invisibility, to control outcomes without being seen as the cause. Look back at the courts of Europe. Kings sat on thrones, adorned in gold, surrounded by mirrors and sycophants. But behind them stood a shadow, a counselor, a secretary, a whisperer, who shaped the king's every move. The monarch received the praise, the hatred the burden. The shadow received the control. Would you rather be the crown or the hand that places it? The masses crave attention, the wise crave leverage. To be seen is to be measured. To be measured is to be targeted. But when you move unseen, you become untouchable. Julius Caesar ruled the church through spectacle, yet it was his advisors who decided which wars to wage. Louis XI of France kept his intentions so secret that his own ministers often discovered his plans only after they succeeded. He hid his mind behind a smile and conquered through silence. That is power refined to its purest form, control without exposure. Now, think of your own life. How often do you reveal too much? Your plans, your desires, your ambitions. Every confession is a weapon handed to someone else. Every display of strength invites challenge. The loud man draws attention, the silent one collects information. The most dangerous players in any hierarchy are not the ones who dominate openly. They are the ones who appear harmless. The unassuming employee who gathers secrets. The quiet partner who studies your weaknesses. The friend who listens more than he speaks. When the time comes, they move precisely, one strike, and the board changes forever. Strategic invisibility is not cowardice, it is conservation. It is the discipline to wait until exposure guarantees victory, not risk. Like a spider, you remain unseen until the moment the web trembles. Then, and only then, you strike. Invisibility has many layers. The first is psychological concealment, hiding your intentions behind masks. You smile, agree, nod, while your true thoughts remain sealed. The fool believes you are harmless, the wise suspect, but cannot prove. Suspicion without evidence is power in your favor. The second is social camouflage. Blend with the environment. Adopt the tone, the behavior, the rhythm of those around you. Appear ordinary, even dull. Let others underestimate you. They will hand you the opportunity themselves. And the third is operational invisibility. Act through intermediaries. Never make yourself the visible executor of your own plans. A wise ruler lets others carry out his will and absorb the blame. Praise belongs to subordinates, accountability belongs to pawns. This is how influence survives storms. Even in modern politics, the same principle reigns. The figure you see on the stage is rarely the one who decides the policy. He is the face. The puppet, the vessel. Real power hides behind bureaucracy, contracts, and counsel. The men who shape the world often do so from behind curtains. The mistake of modern man is to crave visibility, to announce every achievement, every opinion, every move. But exposure dilutes mystery, and mystery is the mother of respect. When they cannot predict you, they cannot defend against you. When they cannot read you, they begin to fear you. Even your silence can be weaponized. A pause at the right moment breeds uncertainty. Uncertainty breeds obedience. Control the perception of what is known, and you control the rhythm of others' thoughts. Remember this, a shadow cannot be attacked. It cannot be blamed, humiliated, or dethroned. It moves with freedom because it owns nothing visible, and yet everything bends to its shape. So, train yourself to be unseen. Speak less, reveal less. Let your results speak while your presence remains ghost-like. Let your opponents imagine your reach. For what they imagine will always exceed the truth, and fear born of imagination is the most loyal servant of power, but never vanish entirely. A ghost must haunt to be remembered. Strategic invisibility is not total silence, it is calculated absence. You appear only when it serves your design. A sudden emergence that shifts everything, then retreat again into shadow, leaving confusion in your wake. The visible seek applause, the invisible secure permanence. Because fame dies with the crowd's attention, but influence thrives in secrecy. So, ask yourself now, do you wish to be admired or obeyed, seen or feared? For the man who understands the art of invisibility does not chase recognition. He watches from the dark, as those who crave the light destroy themselves beneath it. But there comes a point when even the shadows demand a price. When invisibility itself becomes a prison, you are taught to worship money. To chase it, serve it, sacrifice your time and peace for it. But tell me, if money controls you, are you any different from a slave wearing a golden chain? Money was never meant to rule. It was meant to obey. And those who forget this truth spend their lives kneeling before their own creation. Look around. Men destroy their health for wealth, then spend that wealth to repair their health. They chase luxury to feel powerful, yet that very chase reveals their weakness. Money was designed to serve ambition, but when ambition becomes servitude to money, power decays. Consider the rulers of old. The most powerful monarchs did not count coins, they commanded them. When Caesar needed gold, he took it. When kings built empires, they taxed it. When Florence needed war, the Medici created it through loans and credit. They did not chase wealth. They made wealth chase them. That is the secret the modern world has forgotten. Money is not the source of power. It is its reflection. It flows to those who already possess control, vision, and fearlessness. It abandons those who depend on it for worth. So ask yourself, do you own money, or does money own you? The psychological trap is subtle. The man who measures his success only in numbers becomes predictable. He can be manipulated through promises of profit, controlled through fear of loss, and enslaved by his own greed. You cannot command what you worship. This is why empires fall not when they run out of money, but when they lose the discipline to control it. Rome drowned in its own decadence. Gold poured into its cities, yet its spirit rotted. The citizens grew soft, addicted to comfort. They believed wealth could replace authority. And when the barbarian came, Rome discovered that gold does not fight. The same happens today, only with prettier disguises. Men chase investments they do not understand, followers they cannot influence, and luxuries that signal power but do not grant it. They call it financial freedom. Yet every desire they have is designed by someone richer than them. true mastery begins when you reverse the hierarchy. When money stops being your goal and becomes your instrument. When every coin serves a strategy, not a craving. Understand this: money is energy. It amplifies whatever you already are. If you are weak, it magnifies your fear. If you are undisciplined, it multiplies your chaos. But if you are strategic, composed, and ruthless, it becomes a weapon sharper than any sword. The Medici understood this perfectly. They used money not for pleasure, but for control. They financed wars, bought influence, and placed popes upon thrones. To them, money was not the treasure, it was the lever that moved men. So ask yourself, how do you use your wealth? To impress, to indulge, or to secure power? Every coin you spend is a message to the world about what owns you. Spend to gain control, and money becomes loyal. Spend to gain validation, and it becomes your master. Even generosity can be strategic. A gift given with purpose creates debt. A gift given for applause creates weakness. When you use money to bind loyalty, you build an invisible army. When you use it to buy pleasure, you build a cage. The powerful see money as a servant of influence. They invest it where it multiplies not just wealth, but obedience. They understand that the richest man in the room is not the one with the most coins, but the one whose decisions make others move theirs. To reach that level, you must detach emotion from money completely. Do not fear losing it. Do not crave holding it. Treat it like a soldier, useful only when it follows orders. The moment you stop chasing it, it begins to chase you. Because money, like people, senses dominance. It flows toward confidence, clarity, and control. It abandons those who beg for it, just as power abandons those who plead to keep it. The world will always tempt you to worship wealth, to measure your worth by digits and possessions. But the greatest rulers knew this illusion well. Wealth is loud, power is silent. Money is temporary, authority is eternal. You must learn to play on a higher level, to see money not as the destination, but as the weapon of influence. Once it serves you, it can build kingdoms. But once you serve it, you are merely another merchant begging for favor. So the question is no longer, how do I make more money? It is, how do I make money serve my design? Because in the end, money was never meant to sit on the throne. It was meant to kneel before it. But when the servant begins to believe it's the king, what happens to the empire that forgets who truly commands? Power is never taken by force alone. It is taken by understanding the minds of those who serve it. Control does not scream. It whispers. The most dangerous manipulation is the one they never see coming. You plant ideas, not orders. You shape perception, not behavior. And in time, they believe the choice was always theirs. That is the essence of invisible dominance. When people defend your will as if it were their own, you have achieved the highest form of power. So ask yourself, how many around you serve your design without realizing it? And how many times have you been moved by a hand you never saw? If this truth unsettles you, good. It means you're waking up. Comment your thoughts below. I want to know how you have seen control at work. Subscribe for more Machiavellian strategies, and share this video, because the fewer who understand power, the longer it belongs to you.